Well, resilience is important when it comes to children as well as grown-ups. And I am thrilled to have Shannon Anderson on today, who is a children's author, illustrative author, professional development person for teachers, helps parents. She's amazing. Come and join us. Share the link when you're on there. And we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, and we're going gangbusters. So we are going to share this. We're going to meet Shannon right after this.
The strongest prison bars are in your head. Leaders and teams, it's time for a jailbreak.
Hey, welcome back. I was just sharing to make sure that this goes, yep, and we were able to share. Well, I'm going to my business page. If you're on there, we will share from there as well. I will anyway, and then we will be good to go. I'm going to share that to my personal page, and when that pops up, I'm just going to copy that link. Pop it in, and bang. So there we are. Well, and when that's right. So that should be there now. And when you refresh that, you will be able to watch us live there and share it. Great. My goodness, I tell you what, there are so many interesting people in the world, and to be able to talk now, right now it is 7 p.m. in the Chicago area, and 8 p.m. EST, 10 a.m. Friday for Australia. But when you watch this, it could be any time. So how are you going there, Shannon? You got it all sorted?
Yes.
Great. Now, enough about me and about the show, but tell us about you and how you came to be I see these beautiful pictures behind you of your beautiful books behind you, and they just look lovely. Tell us how you became a children's author, what your journey was, and why you do what you do.
Sure. So I kind of knew from a younger age, like in high school, that I wanted to be an elementary teacher. But my high school job was working in the library. And at the time, our library had an upstairs and a downstairs. And the upstairs was the adult section, and the downstairs was the whole children's area. And so I was fortunate enough that my job was down in the children's area. And when the children's librarian would leave at 4 every day, I would come after school. And from 4 to 8, when the library closed, I was basically the children's librarian. And a lot of families would come to the library. They would send their kids downstairs to me while they looked around upstairs. And so I had these kids that I could match to the perfect book. I could sit and read with them. I fell in love with children's books all over. I had always been, I had the little golden books when I was a kid, and I always listened to, the books on, well, at the time it was books on record. No audio books at the time on, a digital platform. But I always had loved kids and loved books. And so I thought, you know what, it would be really cool to not only be a teacher, but also to write books, because I thought, as a teacher, I'll have weekends and summers, all this extra time, which it turns out teachers don't have a lot of extra time. But I started teaching, and then just slowly but surely started learning a little bit about the children's book industry. So learning, how do you write the book in the first place, and how do you submit it to editors or agents? And it was through a grant that I had applied for. It was a teacher creativity fellowship, and I received the fellowship, and it sent me on, these different full week conferences that I got to learn all about children's writing. And then I, knew enough to get started and got my first book out there. And then I was hooked. I just decided I wanted to continue doing that, which was really difficult with full-time teaching and trying to do the books and the visits and all of the fun things that go with the books. So after 25 years of teaching, I actually just recently resigned to be writing full-time and speaking full-time. And I'm hoping that, now that things are starting to open back up again, that I'll be able to do a lot of in-person visits at schools and get to connect with my readers. That's my favorite part about doing this, is getting to inspire young readers and writers at schools.
That is just so fantastic. And I love that you've got 25 years as a teacher.
Yeah.
So you get it. You know what their struggles are. You know what their stresses are. So, you have advice for teachers because you have been one. And so that I expect would make you very valuable to schools. So, and now look, if you're listening and you're connected with a school in America, then please take notice of, I've got shannonisteaching.com scrolling across the bottom, and we will take a visit shortly to Shannon's website. But if you are connected with the school, if your children are at, talk to the school and say, hey, we've got this lady who's got these adorable children's books. So presumably primary school, what do you call it, elementary school, and have her come along and teach. Not only talk to the children, because children love celebrity. It's not so much the celebrity. It's like seeing their heroes come to life, to meet the author of someone who's written a book that they've loved. That's just really, really special. And it can really inspire children with their writing as well, which is what, teachers want. They want to encourage the children to express themselves and be creative and write. And the more you write, the better you write. So what a fantastic thing. So yeah, that's just awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right. So you have lots to do with teachers when you go to that. So presumably you've been doing some of that professional development on Zoom and in some groups. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of it on Zoom this past year.
Yeah, that's true. And that's good. And me too, with presentations on Zoom and other platforms online. But there's something special about in-person visits, isn't there?
For sure.
Like there really is, and I would expect you probably make lifelong friends when you come to those schools.
Well, it's just a completely different energy. Being right there and being able to pace, around the kids as you're talking and bring them up and have them hold different things and be able to interact with them and ask questions right there. Being able to then, go work with a group of kids and do a little writing session with them, maybe write a poem together or sing a song together or something. So it's just, it's really special when you can do it in person.
Yeah. And I'm imagining that there would be some children, you would meet lots of children, but some of them would stick in your memory as impacting you because of the light that shines. Can you remember who might be an example? What was the circumstance of maybe somebody who might have been perhaps disadvantaged or something where it wasn't expected and your visit just lit them up?
Right. Well, I could say one of my very first book was I'm Not a Pirate, and it was about my daughter, Maddie, who had to wear an eye patch for 3 years. And, she didn't like it when people would say, oh, look at the little pirate. And she was really nervous about going to school when she first started having to wear the eye patch because she didn't want people to make fun of her or see her as different. And so the whole reason I wrote that book was to share, how she got through it with a sense of humor and to look at the bright side of things, that it was actually helping her restore her vision and her weak eye and just the different things that she went through. So it has been really something cool when I go to a visit and there is a student there who does have to wear an eye patch. And when I start telling about Maddie, or I pull out Maddie's patch and show it, and that makes someone there feel, special or heard or important, that is really awesome. I've had teachers tell me, because a lot of times when you're patching, you only have to do it a certain number of hours a day. So there have been visits I've been somewhere where someone's wearing one, but more often it's a teacher or a child themselves raising their hand to say, I have a patch, and then they're actually proud of it instead of ashamed of it. And every August, it's Amblyopia Awareness Month. And so I was able to donate those books to kids that I know from all over the world that are, wearing patches, and can hopefully help them get through it and feel like they're not alone. Because when Maddie was first going through that, we didn't know anyone else who was wearing an eye patch. And so she just felt very different. So, situations like that, I can remember a student who, it was when I was presenting actually to an older group of kids. And, I wasn't sure how they would take it, because a lot of my books are for younger kids. I mean, now I have some middle grade books, but at the time I only had picture books. And lo and behold, after we were all finished, like, this 8th grade girl comes over to me, and she was like artistically talented. And she had, while I was talking, she had drawn and colored in the whole cover of the Penelope Perfect book. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was just wonderful. And that just made me feel like, oh, wow, like she really connected with this. She thought this was cool, even though, it was books for younger kids. So you just never know when you'll make a little connection or say something that, that particular girl wanted to be an illustrator someday. And so she was enjoying hearing about the process. And, I guess it just kind of put her in the, inspired her to want to draw while I was talking. And, things like that will happen. And that's always meaningful.
So awesome. And it makes me think that it's not just kids with an eye patch. There'd be kids with any kind. They might have a leg brace.
Yep.
They might have, there's something, that needs treating. And, you've just given them some confidence and some empowering to be able to talk about it and to not feel self-conscious, and also to reduce the teasing and bullying that may go on when kids think that, something's funny and they don't realize it's hurtful.
Right.
So well done. That's and makes it a lot more inclusive. Or they might have like for their hearing. So that's just that's just lovely. If you can strengthen them at that age, then you've interrupted a potential pattern for low self-esteem and fear and inhibition for when they're older.
Sure.
So we work on resilience now, but if we can help our children and to think of themselves in a positive light. It's perfect timing this week, because I actually watched Mr. Rogers, the movie.
Oh, yes.
I watched it this week, and we didn't have that TV show here in Australia, but similar things, and just watching him and his attitude. One of the things he said that impacted me, we was asked what his advice was for parents, was remember what it was like for you when you were little, because we often forget. And that's why these books are important, because we're growing adults. They're children now, like these other little beings, but they're actually going to become us one day. So investing in them is just terrific.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is share your website. So we're going to go to share this screen. Whoops, wrong screen. We'll go to this one. This is where we are. You can go to the other one if you want to, everyone. That's my Facebook page. There we go. So I don't need that, and I don't need that. So we'll have this, and I will also, and you can guide me through where you'd like people to go. Now, when you come to, it's called shannonisteaching.com. So that's her page, and we're going to have a look here. You've got a number of things going on. So we have your books. So, this is your homepage, and look at you. You're on Today. You're on Good Morning America, USA Today. So many places. So you can find out about Shannon. You can connect with her, and presumably we have got Too Shy to Say Hi. Now, how helpful is that? That's one on presumably helping kids to make friends and be outgoing.
Yes, that's my newest book, and that one is on social anxiety. And, much like a lot of my other books, I have pulled experiences from my classroom, and of course I changed the names of my characters, But, when I have students that have that genuine social anxiety where they have a fear that's preventing them from taking part in opportunities or maybe making friends, or maybe it's even, eating alone at lunch. So I wanted to have a book that could show a girl who feels this way, who thinks that her friends with feathers, fins, and fur are enough. She realizes it'd be kind of nice to have some human friends. And so she takes some small, brave steps to, just starting out by practicing in the mirror and waving at herself and saying hi, and then going to school, with, kind of affirmations that she is going to be able to do this, that she will make a friend today. And then she, finds a friendly face. She says hi, and she realizes, oh, that wasn't so bad. I guess it wasn't so scary. And, then the next step is asking if she can sit by someone. And then later she ends up asking, can someone play with her on recess? And, through these steps that you see a character take, then, I'm hoping kids can see, well, maybe I could do that step, or maybe I could try that.
Fabulous.
And then, work their way up to that. I think so many times, if we can use, even if it's with older kids, using a picture book to launch that conversation, to have that discussion in a classroom, so that it's not pointing at an example of a real kid in the room, but instead it's showing an example of someone who might be, like my Penelope Perfect book. It's about perfectionism, too shy to say hi, a girl that is too shy to, do a lot of things because she has a genuine fear. Someone might make fun of her. Someone might laugh at her. So all of those, if you can, those kinds of social and emotional topics started out because I was the gifted coordinator at my school and helping out. I was not only teaching in the classroom, but I was also helping like the guidance counselor with doing lessons with various groups of students that might have perfectionism or be underachievers that have like this great potential, but for whatever reason, they're not working to that potential. And just teaching all of those types of skills through a book as a mentor text to launch the lesson.
I love it. And social anxiety is, it just seems to be so much more prevalent today than what it was years ago. And it was prevalent before COVID, but it's only going to, the cases of people, it's even more now with what we've been going through. So that's just fabulous. And I think that will actually even help parents who are reading the book to their children, that it will actually help their own social anxiety if they have any.
Yeah. And in the back of most of my books, I have some back matter that are specifically for the caregivers. So it can be for teachers to use in the classroom or for parents or caregivers at home. And so it just gives like tips on, what are some things that you can try at home to help your child, and also discussion questions, extension activities, those types of things. Because, as a teacher, you don't have a whole lot of extra time. So I know that it's helpful for me if I'm reading a book in the classroom, if someone has already spelled out for me, questions that would be good to ask to trigger those discussions, and extension activities that I could do in the classroom to go with that book, and I'm not having to plan it or figure it all out myself. I always appreciate that. So I've made it a point to include back matter in all of the books as well.
I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned a book to me that you said, because our theme is resilience, one of the books you mentioned, is it this one, Wise for Yet? That's the one.
Yeah.
So Wise for Yet, a growth mindset alphabet. This is awesome stuff. I wish I'd had access to this when my children were little, but
I wish I had it when I was a kid. I wish I would have understood what growth mindset was, because I was one of those Penelope Perfects, and I thought I had to have everything perfect or it wasn't good enough. And, when you make a mistake, you feel like a failure. And, when you learn all about growth mindset, it is so empowering, because when we're trying to get kids, or any people for that matter, but when you're trying to get someone to go toward their goal, there are these three different spots to be in. Okay. So the first one is your belief. And that's what mindset is, your set of beliefs about something. And so if you have this belief that you really and truly could learn this particular skill, if you put in enough time and effort, if you watched enough YouTube videos or had a mentor or whatever, took a class, if you believe in your heart that you could learn how to get a little bit better at that, then you're more apt to take the next step, which is to take some action of some kind. So practicing it in some way. And then the final part of that is then eventually working toward that goal. But if you don't have that mindset in the first place, that very first step is belief. If you don't have that belief that you can do it, then how likely are you to then take those action steps to try to do it?
So true. Well, it's no different for grown-ups.
Right.
It's just the same, I think children are, they learn to be afraid, don't they? Children do. It's not natural for them. They pick it up from us,
right?
And from their social conditioning. And yes, some children are born anxious. They've got, they've sort of been affected by things. But if we can catch it young, if we can catch it young, and both boys and girls, but particularly girls are often conditioned. Boys are often encouraged that they'll climb trees and things, but girls we say, oh no, don't spoil your dress, or you don't want to get hurt. We want to protect them. I know that sounds old fashioned, but it's still there. You don't want them to
it definitely
to be brave. We need them to be brave and to try things and to have that growth mindset.
Absolutely.
And to go after what they want. And they'll have dreams and they want to do something, and we go, yeah, while they're young, yeah. And then as they get older, we're like, yes, but how are you going to support yourself?
Exactly. Yes.
And it's like, I must confess, I have been a little bit like, okay, yeah, that's a nice hobby, but what's going to feed you? But
right.
Like have something to fall back on, and but you've still got to have that growth. Though I think you can chase after your dreams if you do the learning and the preparation to do that. And that's where a growth mindset comes in, because you can't just have a pipe dream and go, right, I'm going to turn up in Hollywood and I'm just going to get discovered. You still need to prepare and take the classes and have that growth mindset of growing and learning, would you say?
Absolutely. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. No, that's really, really good. So loving that.
Yeah. And the reason I did that as an alphabet book is because there are so many components that go into growth mindset thinking to having that, a lot of people think growth mindset is just about, thinking positively, and it's not. There's growth mindset and there's fixed mindset. Fixed mindset, you've probably either said it yourself or you've heard people say, I'm not a math person, or I'm not good at drawing. Those types of statements are fixed mindset thinking that you would not be able to learn that thing or grow in that area, even if you had someone teaching you. And so if we have that growth mindset and believe that we can, that's what we want. And so since there are so many different components, I decided if I did the alphabet book, I would have 26 different chances to share, different parts of growth mindset, like failure. I tell my students that failure is first attempt in learning. So a fail is, your chance to turn a setback into a setup for success. You can try it again in a new way. I have this whole success cycle I talk about in my Mindset Power book that is, you try something and then you might fail, which is that first attempt in learning. And then the next step, though, is to learn something from that fail and then to improve something, tweak something before you try it again. And so often, we have people say, oh, well, I kept trying. But did they do the try, fail over and over and skip the learn and improve? Because if you don't learn and improve that part of the cycle, then what you're doing is you're making the same mistakes. And we want to make different mistakes each time. That's the key. If we can make different mistakes and learn each time, and each time we slightly tweak and improve what it is we're doing before we try again, then it just keeps getting better as you go through the success cycle more times.
I love that. And I think that takes, and even with grown-ups, that actually takes some humility to be able to acknowledge and to be able to take the feedback that may be coming through. And sometimes people may not deliver the feedback in a sensitive way, but that doesn't mean it's not true. And at the same time, you don't want people dumping on you and making you doubt yourself, because there always needs to be an answer. It's that learning is the key, isn't it? And that's why I made that banner there, fail, first attempt in learning. But it's true. It is that learning. it often concerns me these days when people talk about, speak your truth, as though what your opinion is, that's actually fixed thinking, because it's like, well, this is what I believe, this is how it is. And your truth might be, I'm no good at maths. Well, how is that serving you? You've actually limited your ability.
Yes,
to actually do. And what happens when you're in a position where you need to be able to support yourself and do your own budget?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's just not me. It's just my world. You're actually speaking over yourself and reinforcing that negative pattern. So, that this is what's powerful. That's often missing. I'm sure teachers must get so frustrated when they hear the current culture about, that my opinion is right, and it's like,
well,
we're all about learning.
That's one of the parts of growth mindset, though, is being flexible
Is.
with your
It
thinking
really
and
is.
with what you're trying, all of those things. When you mentioned feedback, it made me think about, when I'm doing my author visits, I share with the kids, my real failures. I show them a picture of my rejection letters, which I call no thank you letters from publishers. I share the story about how, before I had any books published, I was trying to break into magazines because I needed something to put on my writing resume. And so I had sent an article that I had written about how to teach your dog to jump through this hoop. My daughter and I had taught our dog how to do this trick, and we thought, oh, this would be a fun how-to article. And I sent it to a magazine, and they said, and I asked the kids, what do you think they said? And they said, oh, yes, no, it was a no, thank you. And then I decided I would make it a little bit better. I learned from what they said, and then I sent it into Highlights magazine, and I said, what do you think they said? And they're like, yes. I'm like, no, actually they said no, thank you also. But what I learned from this one is they said that their how-to articles were only 1 page long, and mine was just too long. It was 2 pages. And so I thought, I can learn from this. I can tighten it up, take anything out that doesn't absolutely need to be there, and get it down to 1 page. So I did that. I got it down to 1 page. I had the steps, as succinct as I could. I sent it back into them, and I said, hey, I appreciate you saying, that it was too long. I've made it into 1 page now. Would you be interested in putting this in your magazine? And then guess what they said? And the kids are like, no, thanks. I'm like, no, this time they said yes.
Yay.
And so, sharing that story, I share with them. I always have props. And so I share, about what it means when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Yeah. And I share the whole story of Maddie and how that eye patch was a lemon for her, but she was able to make lemonade out of it, realizing that it was helping improve her vision, that she was, she got to have all these different colored patches. So it was like a new accessory for her outfit, all of those things. And so when we get those lemons, like the no thank you letters, you can use the feedback that you get, you can use the situation to improve in some way. And so when I teach these types of lessons in my classroom, like when I'm showing this lemon, it's going to go now in the front of my classroom as a visual reminder. Then when, you never know when a kid might look at it and remember that lesson, or maybe I just reach up and grab it and talk to the kids about remember the lemon.
I love it. I love it. Now, before we finish up, I do want to talk about that you have got, there are other people who may have a vision to do illustrated books. Oh, and so you don't just talk to teachers and kids and parents, you actually have picture book workshops and services for writers. And there you are on Zoom with your group, and there you are here. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, gosh, I've got it in my heart to write illustrated children's books, get in touch with Shannon. Yeah. Shannon is teaching, so she's here. Get in touch with her. She's got testimony. Have a look around on her website. It's brilliant. So, my goodness, Shannon, you serve schools. So Shannon is available for schools. You are available. Now I'm going to pop your website back up there. Shannon is teaching. So you go into the schools and you talk to them, and you also they can pass it on to parents too. You've got your website's got those tips. Those books are great. And so I want to encourage you, if you're a parent, talk to the school about Shannon coming to the school. If you're in teaching connected to it, talk to your school about Shannon coming to your school to give a talk. because this is a big topic, particularly coming out of COVID. This is a big topic for our mental wellness for the next generation coming through. And I think it might do some parents some good too as they read, because you've got a book and it's got pictures, words, hearing the voice, all the learning modes. Shannon, I'm so thrilled that you came on the show. Thank you so much. I'm just really pleased to have been able to highlight and showcase what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. And if you're watching and listening, if you can subscribe, all that sort of thing, that would be great. And we will see you. Where am I? We will see you next time, and I'll be back with you, Sharon, just after this, and we will see in a week. Or you can just click on the next video when it's on there. But shannonisteaching.com. That's where to go.